Good morning, everyone. Now, today we will talk about the cell. What is a cell? Every living being is made up of very, very tiny structures. Those are known as cells. As you must have read in the chemistry, that every non living being is made up of small matter, that is known as small, very, very tiny object, that is known as atoms. In the same way, all the living beings, either it is an animal, plants, or whatever, all the living organism is made up of cell. Cells are the basic building blocks of all living things. The human body, it is composed of trillions of millions of cells. They provide structure for the body, take in nutrients from the food, convert those nutrients into energy, and carry out specialized functions. Okay, and cells have many other parts also that we will discuss later on, but in this session we will only talk about the cell. And actually, cell is the fundamental structural and the functional unit of living beings. Now, every organ in a body, whether it is the skin, brain, bones, muscles, whatever it is, they all are made up of cells. Now, every cell has its own life. Old and weak cells, they continuously die and replaced by the new cells. And always remember, this is very, very important, that all organism, including ourselves, we are human beings, okay? So all organisms start life as a single cell called the zygote. And cells are very, very small. We cannot see them with the naked eye. So we see them with the help of. Now we will talk about the invention of microscope. Who was the first scientist who invented microscope? So the first scientist who invented microscope was Dutch scientist Antony van Leeuwenhoek. He constructed a microscope with a single convex lens, and his microscopes were called as simple microscope, and they were having magnifier power up to 200 times. Okay, and we used to call them simple microscope, but they can magnify the object only up to 200 times. And later on, then another scientist came into existence whose name was Robert Hooke. He developed a microscope with two lenses for greater magnification, and that microscope was known as compound microscope. And the first thing that he examined was a thin slice of cork. Okay, and what did he see when he examined that? He saw a compartment of boxes. He saw tiny box like compartments that were lying together. And what were those? Those were the cells. And in the Hooke's microscope, the object to be seen, it was placed on the stage below, and the light from an oil flame was thrown in on it by the help of concave mirror. So the Hooke used concave mirror, while the Dutch scientist, he used the biconvex lenses. He used the biconvex lens and he used the concave mirror. Okay. Now, if we'll talk about the ordinary microscope, compound microscope that we are using these days, that is the very much improvised design of the original Hooke's microscope. Okay. And after that also there was another invention, a greater invention of electron microscope, and it can magnify, it has the very high magnification power. It can magnify an object up to 2 lakh times, as compared to the ordinary microscope, which can magnify only up to 2000 times. Okay, the ordinary compound microscope, it uses light which is bent by the glass lenses to magnify the image, while the electron microscope, it uses beams of electron which are bent by magnets. All right, now let's come to the next point. Now that's all about the invention of the microscope. Now we will talk about the cell theory. Who gave this cell theory? It was given by three scientists. The first one, in year 1838, it was given by Matthias Kleiden, a German botanist. He announced that every plant is made up of large number of cells. So another scientist was Theodor Schwann, and the third one was Rudolf Virchow. So these three scientists, they have given the cell theory. What are the three main points? Those were those were given by these scientists. Those 3 points I am going to tell you right now. So the cell theory consists of these main points. The first one was, cell is the smallest unit of structure of all living beings. It says that all the living beings are made up of cells, whether it is a muscle, brain, bone, as I've already explained, whatever it is inside a body or outside, everything is made up of cell. So that's why we say that it is the smallest unit of structure of all living beings, either it's a plant, animal, or human beings. Now the second is cell is the unit of function of all living beings. All the functions inside the living being is performed by the cells. For example, digested food is absorbed by the cells. Absorbed food is used up in cells for various metabolic activities. Or in plants, photosynthesis occurs in the cells of leaves. Root cells absorb water from the soil and so on. So all the functions which are happening inside the body of either it's a plant or a human being or an animal, they are all happening because of the cells. So cells are the laborers. They are the ones which are doing every function inside a body. Now the next is cell. All cells, they arise from pre-existing cells. Yes, the cells die and the replaced are the new ones. They all are replaced by the new ones. And it is a never-ending process. Okay, the formation of the cells from the pre-existing cells is a never-ending process. All the old cells, they keep on dying and they are replaced by the new cells one by one, and it is a continuous process which keeps on happening inside the body. Now, another and very important point is that all life starts as a single cell. All life starts as a single cell. Take the example of a mango tree, the embryo that is contained inside the seed. It also starts its journey from a single cell. Take the example of the embryo of the human being. It also starts its journey from the zygote, which is a single cell. Okay, then further on, zygote becomes the multi-celled organism. So the all life, the whole life, whether it is the life of plants, human beings, or animals, they all start their life with a single cell only. All right. Now let's go to the next slide. Now in this slide, we will talk about the number of cells. Now, all organisms, they are not consist of multi cells. Okay, so every organism has its own structure. There are few organisms which consist of single cell, there are few which consist of few cells, and there are few which are multicellular, like human beings, plants, animals. They all are multicellular organisms. And few celled are volvox, Spirogyra. So they all are few celled organism. And if I'll talk about single celled organism, then we have yeast, amoeba. They all consist of single cell. And let us take the example of bacteria also. They also consist of single cell. So here I have given you the example of the different structures of the cell. There are few cells, there are few organisms which consist of only single cell, and there are few which consist of few cell, and there are few like us which consist of multicellular, which are consist of multi-cell, and we call them multicellular organism. That is cell shapes and size. Now, if you're talking about the cell shapes and sizes, then let me tell you that cell is having a very small size. That's why we cannot see the cell with our naked eye. Now, before I will proceed further, I would like to tell you, I would like to give you the few examples, like which is the smallest cell in our body. Smallest cell in our body is red blood cell, and otherwise the smaller cells are also the bacterial cells also. Now, the which is the longest cell? That is the nerve cell, and largest cell is the bird's ostrich egg. The bird's egg, that is known as ostrich, and it is the largest single cell. Since it is the egg, it is an egg, so it is the single cell, but it is the largest one. Okay. Now, next we will talk about the size. That why the cells are so small. The cells are very small, the size is very small to give them greater efficiency for their function. Okay, for example, If I'll take the example of a cube, okay, if a cube consists of smaller cubes, then its surface area becomes larger. Okay, so as I was talking about the cell size, the one reason that it is very small is because they can easily communicate with each other for the effective functioning also. And the another thing that because of that, I have given you one example. I take the example of a cube. If this cube consists of smaller cubes further on, so it increases the surface area, and that surface area, when it increases, it it gives a greater surface area for the diffusion of substances in and out of the cell. So that's why the size of the cell is small, since it gives the cell more communication power. The cell, it is very easy for the cell to communicate with each other, to coordinate with each other for the functional effectivity. Another thing, because of the larger surface area, it has a greater diffusion of the substances. For example, nutrients, it has a greater diffusion power for the nutrients that are going inside the cell, and the metabolic wastes which are coming from the interior of the cell to the outside of the cell. Respiratory gases, let us say oxygen into the cell and carbon dioxide outside the cell, can diffuse in and out easily. Okay, so that's why the cell size is very small in order to give it more efficiency for its work. Now the next is cell shape. Why the cell shapes, they are of different sizes? Why the cells are not of same sizes? Because all the cells have the different shapes according to their function, according to their functional capacity. Now let us talk about the red blood cells. Why they are circular and biconcave? They are circular because they need to travel through narrow capillaries. Okay, they are circular because they need to travel through narrow capillaries. And they are biconcave. Why? So that they can absorb more and more of oxygen. That's why they are biconcave. Now let us talk about the white blood cells. They are amoeboid in the shape. Why? They are amoeboid in the shape so that they can squeeze out through the capillary walls easily. Because whenever some intruder, it comes inside our body, or any germ enters inside our body as an intruder, so white blood cells, being the defender of the body, or we can say being the soldier of the body, it has to defend the body, it has to defend our body, it has to give immunity to our body against any infection. So it comes out of the capillary, all right, and it comes out of the capillary and it engulfs the germ. So that's why it is amoeboid, so that it can squeeze out through the capillary walls. Let us talk about the nerve cells. Why they are long? They are long to conduct impulses, because they have to travel a long distance. They have to conduct impulse from brain to different parts of the body, and from different parts of the body to brain, and sometimes from spinal to different parts of the body, and from different parts of the body to spinal cord. So they have to travel long distances, that's why they are very long. And now if we'll talk about the muscle cells, they are very long and contractile. Why? Because they have to pull or squeeze the parts, that's why they are very long and contractile. Let us talk about the guard cells. They are bean shaped so that they can open and close the pore during the gaseous exchange in the process of photosynthesis. So as these all examples I have given you, it is clear, I think you must have understood that why the cells, they are of different shapes. They are of different shapes in order to suit their functional requirement, so that they can function according to their need. So that's why they are having different shapes. So whatever the function is given to them, in order to complete that function, they acquire different shapes and size. I have already told you they are, why they are so small. They are small in order to increase their surface area, also in order to communicate with the neighboring cells to function effectively. So that's all about the cell shapes and sizes. Now in the next session, we will talk about the cell organelles. Till then, kindly revise this nicely. Thank you. Have a nice day.